All right, guys, this video this week's going to be a little bit different because of all of the questions about our environment, climate change Canada, and our issues getting our engine certified. There was just so many questions. We wanted to sit down and answer them. And luckily, two of our local elected legislators came by. They also saw the video. They wanted to stop by the shop, learn what's going on so that they could bring the issue up a little bit more in government. So we thought we'd sit down with them and go through the top 20 most asked questions in the comment section with the legislators so that they can bring that issue forward. So this is us sitting down. It's a little bit drier video, but it really gets into the interesting details and the nitty gritty of the issue we're currently facing. I promise next week we'll get back to some normal content, but I think this is pretty interesting too.
I'm Scott McInnes, MLA for Columbia River Revelstoke.
Hi, Harman Bangu, MLA for Langley Abbotsford, Transportation Critic.
Chase Barber, Edison Motors, and Scott here is going to talk about this area and what we got going on.
We're so thrilled to have Edison setting up shop right here in Donald, BC. Big thanks to the CSRD. No extra layers of permitting. They're getting to yes when it comes to having business done right here in BC, locally, Columbia River Revelstoke. Thanks so much, Chase, for making it happen.
You bet. And what we thought is because of the unique opportunity here with the regional district, the zoning, the permitting situation, we've been thinking a lot about it. And Edison Motors had a huge advantage because we were able to use our parents' backyard for years. We think, though, not a lot of people have access to a parent's backyard with acres that are going to let them form a business. And how many innovative companies like Edison Motors is Canada missing out on because they don't have a backyard of their own to use? So what we decided to do, we're offering up our own backyard. We've got 300 acres here. Like Scott said, we don't have a lot of permitting or issues. So we're going to offer this land. If you've got an innovative idea, you just need a space to perform that idea, let us know. Go to the website. We got a form to fill out. We're offering our land for basically at cost just to get innovation going.
What I love about this is right here in Donald, BC, we're leading the charge for young entrepreneurs to start a business and carve out a living right here in British Columbia. Let's build BC. I made the trip out here to see Chase. I want to know what is the issue that's holding you back.
Yeah, so the big issue is our national emissions mark. So in order to legally sell trucks in Canada, you need to be approved by Environment Climate Change Canada to be able to meet the emission standards. They do that by assigning a national emissions mark to the truck.
So guys, what is the 2035 federal EV mandate anyways? Give us a little breakdown.
Yeah, good question, Scott. What it is this certification process, which ensures that manufacturers, as well as the consumers of Canada, only have access to hybrid and zero-emission vehicles by 2035 by law. And it's kind of crazy because right now we're unable to even build and get permission to build hybrids, which makes it almost impossible to get to 2035 goal, right?
But I want to see, why aren't you allowed to build hybrids?
So the basic crux of the issue is that hybrids have generators. That's how our trucks work as fully electric vehicles. They drive as an electric vehicle, then that generator there fires up to recharge the battery as you're driving. Then you get all the advantages of electric, the regen, the torque, the power, the fuel efficiency, but you're not limited on a range like you would typically be, which for logging trucks and trucks in BC is critical. We just don't have the charging infrastructure. So because of that generator though, Environment Canada has no rules that allow generators to put in trucks, we found out. So there's a thing called on-highway emissions and then off-highway emissions, stationary and off-highway mobile, which are things like generators are certified to on-highway emissions. Now that are off-highway emissions. So what they said is that for trucks to be able to go on the road, they need on-highway emissions. Generators don't meet on-highway emissions.
Well, I'll actually add to that. The government's view of a hybrid is actually quite narrow. They think that only parallel hybrids exist, which means that the engine is actually still attached to a driveline, and there's supposed to be some electric motor in there to boost it. But ours is truly just a generator which charges the batteries. And when they wrote the exemptions, they never even knew that was a possibility. So we're showing that we're actually ahead of regulations here, and still trying to get through that permission process is quite challenging for us.
So guys, are you avoiding emissions controls?
No. Generators are still certified to Tier 4 final. That is a Tier 4 final emissions. And the emissions profile between an off-highway engine and an on-highway engine are nearly identical.
It's just a matter of truly just the fine print of what that security or safety label has. And right now, because it's certified for off-road, the government immediately disallows it. We're hoping that we can educate them and get through the process without opening up a jar of worms here. We really want to make sure that...
already did.
We did, but
That's too late.
I think it's
You gotta find a way.
What is the difference between the 4-tier testing, on highway and off highway?
So the big difference is, even though the emission standards are the same, it's the way they test it. So an on-highway engine is designed to go through the gears. So every truck, you shift gears, you got 18 gears, you've got idle time while your air compressor builds, you've got reversing, you've got sitting at a traffic light doing nothing. So they simulate that drive cycle, and they need to make sure it's emission compliant at that drive cycle. Whereas a generator, they assume a generator runs at one flat, consistent RPM. So they just test it running at 1 RPM. Now our generator runs at 1 RPM, so it doesn't drive like a normal truck. It doesn't go up and down. So they're trying to say you need a test where your engine goes up and down, but that's not how the engine works. It meets emissions by just staying flat.
It's one of those situations, make it make sense, and you can't.
Like Eric said, our technology here is ahead of the legislation, although they're still mandating that you have to do it. So we'll get into that.
Is there a difference in pollution output by the engines?
Nope.
not at all. No, it truly actually is more efficient to operate an engine at a consistent RPM. And this is actually why most engines have this different tag, because it's certified to run more efficiently. And the only quagmire here is that they're not letting an engine that is like completely efficient, it is environmentally, but if you put it on a frame rail, supposedly it's illegal.
The other weird part is for emissions is that they certify emissions per horsepower in the engine. So you're allowed so much emission per horsepower, which means that a normal truck would have a 15-liter, 600 horsepower Cummins, and it produces X amount of emissions per horsepower. We go down to a 350 horsepower, so a 9-liter. So the fact is our motor is nearly shrunk in almost half, and that's the frustrating part. It's like even talking with Environment Canada, they recognize it. They said that they know it's more efficient, they just can't approve it.
So why are there different testing methods with emissions, even though it's pretty much exactly identical?
Because that's the rules. The rules say that on-highway engines get tested as on-highway engines. That's it. That's the only holdback, is they say that's the rule.
Yeah, classic example of like the cart before the horse. It's crazy to us.
Why aren't your trucks tested as a generator? Because they have a generator.
Because the rules say it needs to be, if it produces power to the truck, it needs to meet truck engine testing.
So does the ECCC know that hybrid, this is actually a better way?
Yeah. I mean, that's the most frustrating part in talks with the ministry and the meetings we have, is that they know hybrid's better. They've said it themselves. That's why they're mandating it by 2035. 100% of vehicles sold have to be hybrid. And you can see the internal frustration in their eyes as you talk with them, because they're like, this is better, this makes sense. I just can't approve this because the rule says. Like, they know. They just can't do anything about it.
This is where common sense should prevail.
So guys, the big question is, if your engines are cleaner, why won't the government approve them?
It's simply just the regulation itself is stopping the department from thinking outside the box, and nor even doing the right thing. And like Chase is saying, it's even to the point where not even one minister alone can actually allow us to do this. It essentially would have to get an exemption, and it'd have to be going to the House of Commons. And it's just incredibly odd, because for something that's so obvious, right, just give us the ability to demonstrate and be a manufacturer in Canada. They're not even willing to do that. And we've given a lot of arguments as to why they should.
Well, why are RVs and other trailer allowed to have, the refrigerator trailers, allowed to have separate engines for that? And this, it doesn't. It's kind of hypocritical. Once again.
It's like, yeah, I put a little generator in my RV. So this truck, if this generator was powering a welder on the truck, if it was powering a refrigerated trailer or a blower motor, something on there, it would be totally legal to mount this in a truck and go down the road if this was powering the auxiliary unit. But as soon as that power goes to that drive axle, that's now a truck engine. So in RVs, that generator doesn't power the RV, it powers the lights in the RV, the fridge, the freezer. This moves the truck, and that's, they say, the issue. And the weird thing is, like, I even asked them, and this is the most frustrating part, is that, so I'm like, so if this was on the ground and I pulled into a charging station, like if I pull up to a charging station and there's a remote Tesla charging station, it's got a generator on it, and you plug it in, the generator fires up and charges your car. That goes to the wheels. Oh yeah, but that's on the ground. I said, well, if I installed a little crane that took that motor up and set it on the ground every time you went to charge, well, that would be fully legal. So if I stop the engine and set it right here, that's totally legal for Environment Canada. But as soon as I put it in the frame rails, that's illegal. You're going to jail. Don't you dare make that damn truck.
So guys, there's so many manufacturers that are making hybrid vehicles on the market. How are they able to produce their vehicles?
Yeah, that's, they got big money. Eric hit it right. So, you know what? Believe it or not, if we were a multi-billion-dollar corporation and we were producing our own engine and we had our own testing data, we'd just be able to go and do a bunch of testing and we could spend the millions and millions of dollars. We don't have that. We're in a 50-year-old truck shop right now. We're just getting started as a manufacturer. Like, why do we have to spend millions of dollars to go through testing as a startup when they already admit that they know that this is better for the environment?
Well, even stranger still, the engine is actually for sale in Canada as a Tier 4 final compliant engine. So why we need to test it? Like, it's already legal. Like, just give us permission to put it on our damn truck. It doesn't make any sense. It's off the shelf. But for some reason, there are rules in place that allow these big multi-billion-dollar manufacturers to go through special processes to get their engines certified. But for us, using an off-the-shelf engine is considered illegal just because of the application.
So guys, instead of causing the government, everyone, all this kerfuffle, why don't you guys just go to an on-highway engine certified?
Because nobody makes an on-highway certified generator because we've put the first generator on highway.
Doesn't exist.
And,
Exactly, but I hear this question out there often and I wanted to throw it to you so you can get it on camera so everyone can stop asking it, right?
Right? We've heard it before too. Why don't you change the throttle mapping? And they've said that if you change anything from how it works in because that was our first question, like, can I just reprogram it on highway? No, you can't change the programming because you need to run it exactly how it does in its testing, which means it works exactly in how it's testing and it has to have a throttle pedal and you step on the throttle pedal and that exact performance tune goes through the engine. You can't program it to be a generator because then that's illegal. So you can't take an on-highway certified and then reprogram it because they basically, remember when like those big car companies were getting around the rules because they were testing at one state and then changing how the throttle mapping worked to give the car more performance and power after testing, and they got fined billions of dollars. They came out with hard laws that say you are not allowed to alter at all how the vehicle works after testing. But that law to stop those big companies from bypassing their testing has now also stopped us from bringing a generator in and reprogramming.
Looks like you guys have entered a portal of unlimited red tape.
Indeed.
Yeah, we are trying to build trucks in Canada.
Unfortunate, but we need to change this and build BC, and this is a great way to do it.
So why not just reprogram the on-highway engine to act as a generator?
Well, unfortunately, because of what happened during the Dieselgate scandal a few years ago, you might have heard of it, right? Mm-hmm. So big companies decided to cheat, right, and get through the testing processes with different operating methods. Unfortunately, that means that we can't change anything about the computer that is shipped with that engine. This is why we're actually using a generator engine, because it's already configured for our generator. Duh, right?
So you probably hear this a lot. Why don't you use another motor?
Well, I mean, like we talked about, they really don't make an on-road generator engine. It just doesn't exist. But people do ask us, why not use a Cummins engine? Because it's very common. And we love the Scania engine. We selected one that, I think will be extremely efficient, will operate in the cold really well. And furthermore, they actually are incentivized to work with us, right? They are really trying to work with us as well as ECCC to make sure that we have permission to use their engine. It's a great product. And I think it's complete government overreach to tell a manufacturer we can't use an engine that we won't use.
Well, being a trucker, I've always wondered why they haven't broken into the North American market. Are there hiccups and everything? And now I'm realizing there's a vortex of it.
Rules, that's what.
Yeah.
Well, it's because we don't listen to Euro compliance. Like, I wish we had rules like Australia did. Australia, I think, has such common sense rules. You can use Euro standards because you got Euro 5, Euro 6 emission standards that the rest of the world, China uses it, Europe uses it, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, a lot of African nations, a lot of South Asian nations all use Euro compliance standards. And they don't have these weird differences where it's Tier 4 final off-road, Tier 4 final on-road. They've got Euro compliance. And in Australia, as a truck manufacturer there, you can elect to either use a Euro 5 compliance engine or a Tier 4 final, and it's manufacturer's choice, which opens up to manufacturers across the world, which if we did that, we could, number one, we could source engines from across the road because this Scania wouldn't be a problem out of Europe. We could also sell our trucks globally because right now, only being tied into Tier 4 final with US EPA rules, I can't sell a truck across the world. I can't take it off, sell it to New Zealand. I can't sell it to South Africa. I can't sell it to the Middle East. I am so hamstrung by being tied to the US. Like, I just wish they would allow Euro engines and we wouldn't have to worry about this.
Yeah.
It'd be a non-issue if that was the case.
Yeah.
And Australia does it. We can just basically copy what they got. It's that simple. I mean, we're freaking cousins. Like, why can't we?
Why are we tying ourselves to the US? Like, the US doesn't know what it's doing.
To anyone. We got to start building right here in BC. We need to get Canada and BC on the map as something legit for a world option. We've made amazing equipment for everything. Look at the logging equipment. So much innovation for logging happened right here in British Columbia.
And we used to be able to build all that equipment. Guess what we did? We had exported around the world. We made some of the best heavy equipment, logging, mining equipment, we exported around the world. Then what happened? 2004 came along and emission standards came out. 99, we tied ourselves to the US, so it means our manufacturers stopped using Euro engine, lost the CAT, lost all the European engines, and we lost the ability to sell a lot of our equipment because you know how much of a headache it is to bring a Euro 6, Euro 5 compliant engine in here and you have to prove that it's for export. Well, like, I can't just build a vehicle and truck now and sell it to Europe, and Europe can't sell a truck here, which means it's harder for me to buy European equipment, it's harder for me to sell to Europe, and it's limiting our market to basically this monopsony power from the United States.
Well, another thing too is it's kind of made it hard for a lot of these businesses to kind of stay afloat here with all the changing policies that are happening. That's why you're seeing truck producers leave British Columbia and Canada in general, because it's too much red tape. And here you are trying to revive that, and everyone's reminded of the red tape again.
That's why, like, every other EV startup has been started by a bunch of corporate guys in suits that no lawyers, no consultants, raise investment money, but look what happens to almost all of them. They're not making trucks. Edison is. Yes. We were started by a bunch of truck drivers, mechanics, guys that use this stuff and work on this stuff. We're still here, despite all odds, despite having no capital that the other guys do, despite having no lobbyists.
Those are the ones that are getting the government grants and, you know, doing it on the taxpayer dime. Here you are investing your own hard-earned money and trying to pull in investors that actually believe in your vision.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why we're successful, but God, we got to do it with very little money.
I know, but this is the thing is we want to bring down emissions. We want to provide an alternative. The government's job is to work with you, not set up barriers to help all the corporations just keep above you. We need to unlock the youth. We need British Columbians to stay in BC. And this is going to get them to stay when they see a young person with a vision and they're bringing it to the market.
Exactly. That's why we're doing the Edison's backyard here in Donald.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it.
What a great program. Honestly, I love that. How you guys are going to give young entrepreneurs a chance to unlock their vision. Have a home. Like you said, you had help from your parents. Like even when I got in trucking, I had help from my family. It helps. And now I love the fact you want to give back and get young entrepreneurs going. Give them away a little head start so they can get on their feet and provide jobs for British Columbians, good paying jobs for British Columbia.
Exactly. That's thanks to your riding here and the way they are with business. Like, we got to give this opportunity out to everybody else.
And on that note, Chase, I just want to thank you for your Edison EV challenge. The local winners here being students from Golden Secondary School, and now they're actually hired by Edison Motors to work here. So just another example on your point, Harmon, of hiring local, getting that youth really engaged in innovation right here in British Columbia. I'm so proud to have Edison here in Donald, BC.
It shows what you do. Like, those kids did wicked. They've never built an EV. They built an electric cart. They got first place in the event across all of BC, competing against 20 other schools. They learned how to build the electric. So as soon as we got them into the shop here, those guys knew what they were doing. They are fantastic. Like, I hope they stay here forever because they are like amazingly talented guys.
Well, I do hope they stay here forever, and maybe seeing your story, we won't get kids hopping on a plane, leaving this province, leaving this country for a better place to earn a living. They're going to realize, hey, maybe Donald, BC is the place we go.
We can give them that
historically, we had Fort St. John, we've had Prince Rupert, a lot of great booms. I guess Donald, BC is one to keep an eye on for the future, for people to come to, flock to, and flourish right here.
We should have invested in more real estate.
So guys, back to the regulation. Are there any exemptions for these vehicles which you can use?
It's a good question, Scott. So there are technically exemptions, but we've been told by CCC that is not the path forward. Because if we do, we opened up a Pandora's box. They say it might take up to 2 years, and they've never, ever given out an exemption.
You know why they say that they've never given out an exemption in the history? Is because the US manufacturers have a veto power. So they have to put it out there, they have to go through the motions, they have to do a public disclosure, and they have to get feedback from existing manufacturers. And all the existing manufacturers are down in the States, and if one of those companies say, hey, we don't want Edison developing their hybrid technology, that exemption is not approved, you don't get it. So right now we can't get an exemption because our government has given power to the US businesses to say, no, Edison in Canada is not allowed to build trucks.
Looks like the only exemption that's needed is a little bit of common sense here.
You know what's even scarier too is that the Minister of Environment herself, she actually does not have that power to just provide the exemption. It still has to go to the House and it has to go through this arduous process, which is unfortunate, right? Because there should be exceptions when companies like ours come around and do something that regulation's not even ready for. It's pretty upsetting.
NDP did pass through extraordinary powers, right, Scott? You can tell them about the bills that they passed through. Maybe they can use some of those for their emergency measures to kickstart a business right here in British Columbia that's going to provide a future and jobs for the future to come.
Yeah, agreed, Harmon. Just be nice for a change of government would work harder on getting to yes instead of the long maybe or no. It's that simple.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think, honestly, even the people at ECC we talked to, who are fantastic, they're really motivated workers. I have nothing bad to say about any of the employees we talked to at Environment Canada. They get what we're doing, they get the passion, and it's so disheartening to see passionate people that care have to say, no, you got to tell them no. No, you got to tell them no. No, you got to tell. They've been working for months trying to get us something, and you just see the disappointment in their eyes when we have another meeting and they're like, no, that won't work because an American company can tell you no. Yeah. Like, that sucks for them, it sucks for us, it sucks for the country, and it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I thought we were elbows up, doing what's best for Canadians. Why do we care what American companies are saying? Maybe we need to take a hard look at this and actually revisit this. Hey, if we're going to make extraordinary powers for certain jobs, why not make extraordinary powers so we can help British Columbians and companies succeed like this?
Why not give the power to the people that are working in those departments? When they see something that makes common sense, say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to put my name down. I'm going to give you an exemption for 2-3 years. All we need is a 2 to 3 year exemption. Like, that said it can take 2 years to affect legislation. Just while you work on figuring this out, give us like a temporary thing. If you're like, okay, for 2 years until we figure this out, build your trucks. I can go out and I can buy a pre-emission. So I got that 1969 running a big cam 400 straight piped out to the sky. The thing rolls cold like a freight train and CP going by the tracks. No problem. I can go buy that. I can restore that. I can put a new motor and I can roll out as many of those trucks as I wanted to that are way dirtier, but I can't build 10 of these hybrid trucks. Like,
yeah.
It's madness.
Something's missing here.
Frustrating. Yeah, I mean, there is so much opportunity in Canada, right? Like, we're so blessed. We live in the best country on earth.
No question.
So why the hell are we stopping innovation? Like, we are trying to do our best to build the country, right? They got to play their part too. Everybody is.
We need to keep the innovators in this country, in this province, because if they leave, they're going to succeed, but it's just not going to be here.
And it just sucks. It's like, how often is Canada at the forefront of innovation? Like, where Canada is beating the US to some technology, and then the government comes in and says, well, we can't give you an exemption because the American businesses won't be happy about it. When did that happen again? That's happened a few times, hasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
This is an Avro Aero. This reminds me of the Avro Aero, where we were in the lead, and Now shut that down.
This is such a great story, a grassroots business built in your parents' backyard. With this roadblock ahead, I'm sure everybody's wondering, are you worried about the future of Edison Motors?
Well, certainly. I mean, without permission to build these hybrids, a fundamental part of our business model, it doesn't work, right? I mean, if we don't have permission, can't build our trucks, can't sell our trucks. So hoping that we can get to a solution together with ECCC right away, because we're actually about to launch a financing. And without the ability to say concretely in our business plan that, hey, we are going to get to production and we have permission, well, we can only really sell mechanical trucks. I mean, so many of our investors invested in us because we are driving innovation, right? We're building hybrid trucks.
I mean, which, don't get me wrong, I'll sell a mechanical truck all day long. I love shifting gears. I love the feeling of it. But now that I've driven hybrid and it's so infinitely better with the torque and the power, I'll build it and I'll sell these heavy trucks as a Canadian built truck and we'll be fine and we'll be in business, but it won't be as cool.
One thing I'm wondering, are you guys crazy talking about all of these issues when you're looking for investors and buyers? What's your whole thing behind that? Because I know you guys have been pretty transparent. What's the point?
We've had some customers pretty concerned. Yeah. We've had investors be like, whoa, what's going on?
And I think the real reason why we highlighted the point was because the minister's office themselves was so concerned about this issue and their powerlessness behind the actual minister's office that they told Chase and I, hey, you got to get awareness out there. We got to bring attention to this issue, because when the minister themselves can't affect that change directly, there's something wrong, right? So this is why you brought it up, and it's so good to have you guys also involved in this conversation, because all we're trying to do is educate.
One thing I like about it is the transparency product.
I like to bring this up because I'm really transparent in things. I think if we are going into an investment round, we should be telling people that, look, this is a hurdle we got to overcome. We got to tell our customers what's going on, and we show everything we do. We did a video of everything wrong with Topsy, where we showed everything that sucked on our truck, everything that we need to improve. We show what we're doing in here when we make mistakes. We show of, hey, that program didn't work. Hey, we got a setback. We show the good and the bad. I think it's how it should be run. We got to be realistic. If we're trying to get other people to be inspired to start their own businesses, you can't show people that, hey, look, it's all success, it's all fantastic, because then when people hit struggles in real life, they're like, Edison didn't struggle, why am I? No, they got to be able to see, man, that company's had some hard times. That company's barely made it through. That company's had hit. But you know what? That company has kept pushing on. They've kept succeeding. They've kept doing it. I'm going to keep doing it too. I think it's better overall to inspire people.
That's exactly it. You watch these documentaries about other manufacturers, people who made amazing machines, and it's all about they hit this standard and that standard. It doesn't tell you all the hiccups. You're showing the hiccups. You know what you're doing? You're showing entrepreneurs you will fail, you will go back, you'll make up a game plan, and you can push forward. Don't throw in the towel. That's what you're showing. A lot of entrepreneurs see these big corporations, they're like, look at that amazing story. Oh my God, I'm getting so many hiccups, I should just throw in the towel. And they can look over at Edison, they're like, you know what? They messed up, they kept working at it, and look at them push forward and succeed.
Gentlemen, Harman and I are provincial legislators. We don't have the ability to go to Ottawa, advocate directly on your behalf. I've written a letter to Premier David Eby to lean on the federal government, support of BC grown innovation. I know you have a lot of support throughout the nation, throughout North America. What can individuals do, whether it's a teenager at home that follows your YouTube and Instagram, whether it's another small business that's looking to take off the ground? What can they do to get behind getting these regulations changed for you guys?
Well, I think we want to keep this education process going, right? To reach out to your local MP, right? To be able to affect policy change, possibly, by just inspiring your MPs to potentially look changing the rules, right? Because this would be so beneficial for the country. And all we're trying to do is educate. So if people out there are trying to educate as well, we highly recommend it.
What I would tell a lot of the youth, you've watched this company built, you probably are like, hey, I'd love to work for them. You should get out there and start writing your local MPs, MLAs, everyone in government. I know it's a big thing. Oh, this is a federal issue. Well, I'm sorry, it's a provincial issue, and it does affect our province as well. the young entrepreneurs in this province. I didn't get into politics just to go on certain things. I came here to represent British Columbians, and I see 2 British Columbians here that are fighting tooth and nail for innovation, bringing jobs, and building BC, and I will stand for them every single time.
100%, Harman. I know MP Mel Arnold has been behind you guys 100% also in this riding, but you guys are in my constituency, and I'm going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that this gets done properly, because the regulation, it's completely unnecessary. We need to check a box and get these guys building these trucks and get them shipped out the door. It's that simple.
Awesome. Well, hey, I really, really appreciate that so much.
Thanks, yeah, fantastic.